So she introduced me to her. Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. You met her. And Scott Baxter was there. Scott Baxter, for those of you who don't know, he's currently on Men of a Certain Age, and he's the guy from Quantum Leap. So we see Scott Baxter, and we go to Scott Baxter, we finally go to meet him. And what was really cool about Scott Baxter is that Scott introduces himself. You walk up to him, and you go, hey, and he goes, hey, Scott Baxter. Like, we don't know who you are. And it was a very cool, nobody else did that. Nobody else having a long line of people crowding them meets every person goes, hey, Scott Baxter. It was a great way. It says that he's not banking on the fact that you know anything that he's done before. He's going to start this new relationship like we've met today. He's not presuming that you know all his stuff. Forget all the people around me. Hi, first time meeting you. This is who I am. And it's the same thing that Paul says. We have to forget what happened. Forget all your accomplishments. Forget all the things that you've done. Forget all the negative things. You always have to start new today. You have to forget all of that stuff because they don't mean anything in the future. You also have to forget all your mistakes because they also don't mean anything in the future. Regardless of what you've done or haven't done, you have to push ahead like that stuff doesn't matter. I have a friend of mine down in D.C., well, D.C., Virginia area, made a lot of money, owned a bunch of houses, had a lot of luxury sports cars. I mean, his house was huge. I remember going through the hallway and went around a curve, and I remember not thinking that the hallway ended. I was just walking and walking and walking and walking and walking. I mean, he's the kind of guy that put a piano in his house. He can't play piano. He just wanted a piano in his house. And then a recession hit. Recession hit, sold every car, had to sell all his houses and everything. Now he's living, I think, with his grandmother or something like that in her basement. And he could have a job. He could. He gets offered a job all the time, $85,000, $90,000 a year. He's like, man, I was making like 140. He's been unemployed for, I don't know, 2-3 years. At some point, you gotta forget. Man, you gotta put that aside. I'm glad that you were able to live like that, but man, you in the basement. Come on, man. You in the basement. You gotta put that behind you. He has a son. His son's about to go to high school. His son comes to stay with him for a couple days, but they have to leave. He no longer has the room. His son used to have his own room. At some point, you will not progress if you keep thinking about everything that you've done before. When you're at the peak of your life, you have to score. And when the enemy is trying to stop you from scoring, you can't think about how good or bad of a job you did getting yourself up the court. You can't think about what you did yesterday or last month. You have to have amnesia and forget those things. So graduates, forget everything you've done, because in college, it won't matter. I told many of my college kids, college is the first time you will bust your tail to try to get a grade and still fail a class. See, high school is different. If you really work in high school, you can squeeze out that C or that B. You might be able to get an A in every class if you really grind. College, I don't care how much you grind. You're going to take a class. You're not going to pass. Like the teacher has to curve and everything else just to save your neck, because that's just how hard it is. You can't go into college going, man, well, you know, I was valedictorian when I graduated high school. It'll be a bad day for you and your grades. I've seen people lose scholarships in their first semester because they walked in thinking, I'm going to study the same way I did before. No, you got to have amnesia and start all over. Forget what has happened and what you did right or wrong. Start over, get it together, and do your thing. Church, listen, forget all of your accomplishments, all your mess ups. Forget all the things that happened. Forget the jobs, forget the relationships, forget the money, forget the divorces, forget the foreclosures, forget the struggle and the success. It doesn't count in the pain. So 1, be humble. 2, have amnesia. 3, this is R, you have to get refocused. Refocus. Paul says, forgetting those things which are behind and looking forward to what lies ahead. So not only are you forgetting what happened, you get a new focus, which is what is ahead. All of the struggle, the pain, disappointment, and hurt, all the things that we focus on, we have to put aside and get a new focus. My life is spent listening to people as a minister. My life is spent listening to people talk about what has happened. Nobody talks about focusing on what is ahead. You graduated? Great. Now what? You succeeded in this venture? Great. Now what? You had a hard life? I'm sorry to hear that. Now what? You've been abused? misused, underestimated, dismissed, forgotten, and pushed aside. I'm sorry that things have been so hard, but it's time to refocus. What's the new goal? What's the new destination? What's ahead? You have to refocus. Focus on being what God desires for you to be. You can't do that if you're stuck on how you got to where you are. I see it in basketball all the time. Take a little 11, 12-year-old, he's coming up the court, he thinks he's on an AM1 mixtape, he crosses somebody over, goes, spins around behind the back, does a nice little move, gets all the way to the paint, and everybody in the crowd's going, oh, you saw what he just did? And then he gets blocked. You spent so much time being happy about what you did up the court that you couldn't score when you got into the paint. You got to get a new focus. Forget all you achieved, forget all of that. When you're in the paint, you got to push, you have to focus on winning, and if you need help, you got to do what the songwriter wrote about in Psalm 21, when he said, look to the hills, look to God, because that's where your help comes from. If you're going to go hard in the paint, if you're going to get closer, you have to refocus. My last point, H is be humble, A is have amnesia, R is refocus, and D is be determined. Paul says, I press, I push, I strain to reach the goal and get the prize through Jesus of being called to heaven. If we're going to be closers, if we're going to wrap this thing up, if we're going to win this, then we must be determined. The image here in this text is of an Olympic-style race, Coliseum-style race, with everybody looking, and the runner presses and struggles and strains to get to the finish line. The word here doesn't just mean run, it means run swiftly and hard. It means to run like you're aggressively chasing something. This word is not used for marathon runners. This word is used for somebody who is busting the tail trying to get to their goal. And mark is used to represent it's not really even that close. Mark in this text means the mark. You're trying to reach the mark, trying to reach the goal. It means it's something that's still fairly distant. And we have to understand that we have to decide that no matter what may happen, no matter what we've been through, no matter what we've accomplished, no matter how good or bad it can be at the moment, we must push, we must press, we must make it to our destination. Everybody's watching, everybody's looking, and there's nothing we can do about that. We can't be embarrassed about how good or bad we're doing. We can't be concerned with who thinks what about what we should have done. We can't go back and change the past, but we can admit that we didn't win yet. We can forget the achievements and the mess-ups. We can refocus on our new goal in pleasing God, and we can be determined to get there no matter the cost. If my friends want to come or if they don't, if I've done my thing in my life or not, I'm still staying humble. If I like or don't like my current situation, I'm going to forget all that. If life isn't what I want it to be, I'm still staying focused. And no matter who's looking, no matter what you throw at me, no matter how close or how far my goal is, I'm determined to get there. I'm going to go hard in the paint. And the enemy will be waiting for you, trying to make sure that you lose, trying to make sure that you don't score. Because the enemy knows what you do. You're too close to winning this game. So expect the haters to come out thick, and expect the critics to make a lot of noise, and expect the enemy to try to ruin your play, and expect it to be a hard-fought battle. But you stay humble because every critic isn't wrong, and every person who disagrees isn't a hater. And don't get caught up with all that has already happened, or your progress will be shafted. Stay focused on being all that you should be in God, and be determined, because although the battle is hard, you can still win it with God on your side. And don't think that Paul is making this stuff up. Paul learned from our Lord and Savior Jesus. Jesus was a humble man. Jesus never focused on all the good that he had already done. Jesus always stayed focused on his goal of being the salvation of mankind. And Jesus remained determined no matter how many people try to step in his way. That's who Paul learned from. That's who we learn from. Because Jesus went hard for us. That's why the church is filled with people who can say, I go hard in the paint. Because we're too close. The breakthroughs, the blessings, the hookups, the deliverance, the success,